One of the best things you can have in the world, but it's especially in college sports, is money. And that is something that the University of Arizona is struggling, as they are considering cutting sports just so they can stay afloat as a university. So if you want to know more about this, make sure to give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down because it's your thumb, and let's go ahead and get into this. Some of the hottest news this week has been that the University of Arizona is struggling financially, as they even said they are truly in a financial crisis right now. They are so much in a financial crisis that they are considering cutting their athletic department, and not just employees, but teams as well, which they announced on November 6th that they were struggling, and they had a meeting on November 13th that said what is going on and what they are possibly trying to do to solve this. And you might be wondering, how did they possibly get there? Well, actually, there is $240 million in the hole, as they expected to make that amount of money in this fiscal year, which they did not do. School officials said that they made some bad financial investments and used some poor strategies, which has got them into this position, as they thought they would have more time to make up the deficits that they had, which turned out not to be this way, as they see in here today, $240 million in the hole. And not even to make the situation worse, but they don't even have cash on hand to get them through a significant amount of time, as they only have 97 days of cash on hand, but they predicted at the beginning of the fiscal year to have 157 days of cash on hand. And if you know how many days are in a year, you know 157 is not that number. And so when they came back and said they only have 97 days to finish out the fiscal year, you know they were definitely in trouble. Is it the first year where Arizona has been struggling financially with cash on hand, as this has been a problem since 2021, with the numbers of cash on hand days decreasing each year? And because they are struggling so much with their financials, they are considering cutting sports, which is a pretty big deal, as the University of Arizona is not as much of a powerhouse as they used to be in athletics, but still a Power 5 team and a Power 5 conference that makes really big waves in a lot of their sports. And some staffs and faculty at the University of Arizona says that the athletic department is a big reason why they are in this situation, as the athletic department took out a $55 million loan in COVID to stay afloat. Now, if you're wondering about the money set up in the athletic department, they have had a $100 million budget the past few years. And in that budget, $40 million comes from being in the Pac-12, $30 million comes from ticket sales, specifically from football and basketball, as those are the most revenue sports in college athletics. And the last $30 million comes from philanthropy, development, fundraising. All those are the same thing, which they just ask people for money. The president of the school said they have a plan for everything else but athletics, because unfortunately when it comes to athletics, you make one choice, that's going to trickle down for the rest of Arizona's athletic department future, unfortunately. But their president and other schools officials did cite that Arizona isn't the only department having troubles with their financially, as they cited that Ohio State athletics department did take out a loan, $48 million, to stay above water. But Ohio State isn't in a financial crisis of $240 million. The president said that the issue right now is mostly because of their lack of fundraising and how that has been underperforming in the past few years. They are possibly considering cutting all 23 varsity teams, which I don't think is likely they're going to cut all 23. But one of the positives for Arizona right now is that they are moving to the Big 12 next year with part of their conference realignment. And that will allot them more money and media rights in the Big 12. But one of the better things about them going to the Big 12 is the money that could come from that conference realignment and media rights. But on the negative end of that is that they won't see that money until a year from now. The money could be big that they can bring in the 2024 fiscal year, but the big money that could really help them out won't even come till 2025, as that is when the Big 12 media rights deal starts that they sign, which is worth $2.28 billion with a B dollars. Something that could help them with possibly cutting sports is that most teams in the Big 12 only have 17 varsity teams. So they could be considering cutting up to 6 teams and use the excuse that, hey, in the Big 12, everybody else only has 17. And that could possibly help their case, but hey, if I'm a student athlete, that ain't helping me. And the craziest thing about all of this is that the athletic director didn't even show up to this meeting. And that's probably why everybody's like, okay, cut athletics, because he wasn't even there to stand up for the entire athletic department, as his staff members are calling for him to come to the next meeting to, make a case for the athletic department, since they're just saying, hey, cut the whole department. Even though the University Athletic is almost 6 feet under, as some could say $240 million under, they must have a plan by December 15th to decide how they're going to go about this. And they have a few solutions, quote unquote, because they really don't have any. The school does have an official $3 billion campaign fundraiser going on, and they've raised already $2 billion of those dollars. But none of that money, they say, is going to go towards school operations, which is, tuition, housing, fixing up the building, all that kind of stuff. Because that will help them with having cash on hand, which, as I said earlier, they're really struggling with. One of the most wackadoodle things about this is that the president kind of seemed very nonchalant about the situation going on, as he says all bleeding stops eventually. And that is kind of a crazy thing to say when you're in this kind of situation. And they have looked at the possibility of selling athletics to an outside vendor to properly run them, as some faculty says that the athletic department has no idea what they're doing. I can see that at this point in time, having that sentiment, but the president says that's not really one of their highest priorities and things they want to do, more looking at the possibility of leasing out some of their property and sites to other people to make income a little bit faster. Well, now that you know what's going on at the University of Arizona, you can watch this playlist right here, which is all about money in college sports and how it works. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified every time I post a new video, which are on Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Leave me a comment down below telling me, how do you feel about this situation going on at Arizona, as well as when the new news breaks and they actually make a plan, would you like me to do a little follow-up on this situation? Make sure to give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down, because it's still your thumb. And remember, don't be afraid to join the convo.